With Modern Warfare 3 being out for about 2 weeks now, I wanted to do a quick video on how to improve your aim in-game with mouse and keyboard. This guide will be for Call of Duty, but you can definitely transfer it to other games. In this video, we will go over settings, your sensitivity, aim drills, warm-ups, and techniques that will dramatically improve your aim. So if you guys want to know more, make sure to like this video and let's get right into it. My name is LJ and welcome to FPS Guides. Today's video is going to be for mouse and keyboard only, but we will be putting out a controller aim guide video as well in a couple days. So if that's what you're looking for, be sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video so that you don't miss it. Aim is a very basic part of your gameplay, and a big part to make it easy on you is finding the right sensitivity and developing muscle memory with that sensitivity so that you don't have to think a lot and you can just point and click. So how do you find your sensitivity? First, I would ask you, what kind of aimer are you? Do you aim with your wrist or with your entire arm? This is crucial to finding the right sensitivity, and let me tell you why. If you're aiming with your entire arm like I do, I like to have a lower sensitivity since you're moving a lot more, and with a lower sensitivity, it's easier to be more precise with your low sensitivity. And on the other hand, if you're a wrist aimer, it's better to have a higher sensitivity since, well, all you're moving is your wrist, and having your sense too low would make that very hard. So the first step is to find the sense you like. This will depend on how big your mouse pad is and how much room you have to move. For me, my entire desk is a huge mouse pad, so I settled on 800 DPI and 4 in-game sensitivity. This will obviously be up to you to find the right sense that feels just right for you, but once you find it, you gotta stick to it and not change or head case yourself into changing it, which brings me to my next point. Now that you have your sensitivity down, you gotta make sure that you not only don't change it, but also stick to the exact same sensitivity in any FPS game you play. And there's a very easy way to do this. You're going to want to use a sensitivity calculator online to input your sensitivity for Call of Duty, and anytime you try a different FPS, you're going to want to figure out what the same sensitivity would be in that other game. Every game is different, so for example, when I go from COD, where my in-game sensitivity is 4, I have it set as 1.2 in Apex Legends. The one I use is gamingsmart.com, and it has a ton of games in the list, so you will probably be able to find the sense you need. And if it's not on that list, try to see if the game you're looking is on an engine similar to a game that is on the list, and just use that to find what you're looking for. It's super easy to do, and doing this on every new game you play will really help you make sure that you're developing muscle memory, and you will consistently improve. Now let's move on for a couple settings to change in Call of Duty and on your desktop to make aiming a little bit easier. First, you want to make sure you go into your desktop mouse settings and uncheck enhanced point of precision. This will make it so that your mouse movements are as raw as possible and won't have any mouse acceleration, so that your aim is always the same no matter how fast you move. It'll depend on how far you move your mouse instead. This is much easier to get used to and removes any unwanted variables. Next, make sure your FOV is set to affected. This makes sure that you have the least amount of visual recoil in the game. As for the FOV itself, just set it to something you're comfortable with. I've always gone by the rule, if I'm sitting really close to my monitor, I set my FOV to the max it can go. And if I'm sitting a little bit further away, like when I'm playing on controller, I sit a little bit further back, as when I'm playing on mouse and keyboard, I'm sitting super close. So if you're sitting a little bit further back on controller, I would say make it to where your FOV is around, I would say around 100. The next setting I'd change is only for those who have their ADS mouse sensitivity set to legacy, which is what the other Call of Duties have used in the past, but some people have been saying that their aim feels kind of weird and floaty with this setting. So with that, you're going to want to set your mouse smoothing to 2. I saw some players like Huskers and Metaphor talking about this on Twitter, and it has made the game just feel completely different, and it made it so that the game feels a lot better and way more responsive. So if you're having issues with your aim feeling weird in game, try this setting. All right, moving on to the next tip, let's talk about some warm-ups and aim drills to try out to help with aim. Honestly, this will only get you so far in terms of improving your aim, and now I kind of just use these methods as warm-ups since nothing will really help you improve more than just playing the game. But if you haven't already, go and download Aim Labs and set up your sensitivity to Call of Duty in there and run some drills like Tile Frenzy, and I like to do these for about 5 to 10 minutes straight before I start up the game. You can do more if you're just trying to get used to your sensitivity, or you can do less and hop on quicker, but either way, running Aim Labs before your sessions will help you warm up and get those first game jitters out of the way. If you don't want to download Aim Labs, you could go the much simpler route and just go into a private match FFA and shoot bots for a while. It's not the craziest warm-up, but it does get it done, and it has helped me a lot with when I'm trying to warm up or stay warm in between rounds of tournaments. I don't play much tournaments anymore, but this was a great way to stay warm when I'm waiting to play. All right, now let's talk about some things that will make aiming much easier on you. When everyone talks about aim, most people will kind of associate it with crazy flicks and extremely precise mouse movements, and while yes, this is a part of it, and running Aim Labs will help you get get better at those since it will be building muscle memory, so you know just how far you need to move to aim right where you want. But not a lot of people talk about how game sense plays into aim. Ideally, you don't really want to have to move your mouse much to hit your target. So one of my biggest things for helping people with aim is learning spawns and the flow of the maps depending on the game mode you're playing. If you know where people will be spawning and you could just pre-aim where you think they'll be, it makes it so you barely even have to move your mouse to hit your shots. Now, this doesn't really look that flashy, but with aim, less is more. And like I said, flashy flicks look cool, but playing methodical and pre-aiming angles, this will make you a much better player. All right, guys, we're going to move on to some gear you can buy to help with aim. But before that, if you guys are enjoying the video, be sure to like it. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe with notifications on so that you never miss any uploads. Like I said earlier, we're going to be uploading a controller aim guide in the next coming days. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that if you're a controller player. Okay, so first let's talk about your mouse. I'm just gonna say, in my opinion, you want the lightest mouse possible, and also it needs to be wireless. The reason for this is it removes any unwanted drag from a wire that might affect your aim, and you want the mouse to be light so that it's less work to move it. A huge misconception is wireless mice has like a ton of input lag and will be bad for FPS games, but that was only true like years ago. Nowadays, they are so fast with no lag at all, and there's pretty much no difference between wired and wireless in terms of input lag. Now, you do have to make sure you're charging them, but the wireless mice now have such insane battery life that you barely have to. And when you do, they charge in like 30 minutes or less. I've personally been loving the Logitech Pro X wireless, but there are others out there that are great. If you have any suggestions, drop them in the comments below. Next up, you're going to want to have a high refresh rate monitor, at least 144 Hertz in my opinion. You can go higher than that, and while your eyes won't see much of a difference above 144 Hertz, you will see enemies that much quicker if they peek corners on refresh rates at 240 Hertz or more. The smoothness of the gameplay looks pretty much the same when you look at 144 Hertz to 240 Hertz or more, but with the higher refresh rate the monitor is, the more frames you can see, and if someone peeks a corner on you, if there are more frames being shown on your screen, you'll see them slightly quicker. It'll just be like milliseconds of a difference, but in FPS games, that can make all the difference. I'm right now running an Alienware 240 Hertz monitor and been loving it ever since I got it, and I definitely noticed the difference when seeing enemies a little bit quicker than normal. And lastly, your mouse pad. Ideally, you want it to be about as big as your desk can handle without getting in the way of other stuff. For me, I have an entire desk mouse pad, so my whole desk is just a huge mouse pad, and this makes it so that I never run out of mouse pad when I'm aiming, which did happen sometimes when I was running a large one from Logitech. But I do this because I'm an arm aimer. If you're a wrist aimer, a large or XL mouse pad will be just fine, and you probably won't run out of mouse pad with those if you're just aiming with your wrist. I would recommend swipe mouse pads or anything from the Logitech brand. You definitely do not want any of those tiny office mouse pads, as these will pretty much ensure you go off the side of it and mess your aim up a ton. I do have to say, the entire desk mouse pad is probably the way to go if you're an arm aimer, but that's only if you're okay with having to take the whole thing off when you wash it. As for other things I'd buy, if you're on a wired mouse, I'd definitely get a mouse cord bungee so that you're not dragging the cable on the back of your desk. And if you guys want to see more MW3 content, check out the video on the screen now, and make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.